piece is called Tabula Rasa, and it's quite a conceptual piece, so it's sort of about blank slate or new beginnings, very inspired by nature, surroundings, kind of about moving forward and moving into the future. For our project, when we first started on Zoom, it was more about the research part of that. So we spoke a lot about what it means to work on location, how site-specific work is different to maybe in the studio. We spoke about how to use the camera, because for this piece the students actually directed and shot their own footage, either on their own when they was at home, and then when they came back they were able to work together and start working together and shooting each other, which hopefully comes across in the piece as well.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the creative process in creating this piece. It kind of began when we were still in Zoom classes over lockdown, so we weren't actually together or in a studio environment, and we had to start by kind of conceptualizing what the piece was going to be about, what we wanted to be based off, and kind of the movement kind of process that we were going to go for during the piece. We didn't create too much movement during this time because we didn't have the space that we were going to work in. And then we obviously transitioned to being in an open space. We worked in different locations such as the woods, the urban environment. We used a lot of the movement based off the environment that we were in, and we altered and changed what we wanted to show and what we wanted to do in the piece depending on the environment, because obviously it is based a bit off new beginnings and spring, so obviously we wanted to kind of take in the surroundings and use the surroundings in our piece to help with the idea.
I really enjoyed working with my friends. We've had it's been a really enjoyable experience, because we've had just a lot of freedom to do our own, have our own interpretation and way of approaching different creative processes.
The genre is kind of contemporary, but it's also underpinned by the students' facility that they have from their ballet training, but it's very open. There's a lot of kind of improvisation that has come through with how we worked for the project, but it also allowed them to be really free with their movements, which I think really helped with the concept of the piece and the idea of kind of reacting to the space and reacting to nature and again the concept of sort of new beginnings, moving forward and finding sort of themselves again.
It was just a whole new way of working together. You're working together, but at the same time you are just physically so far apart from each other. So you have to all have the same understanding of the piece while still bringing your own individuality into the creations.
I really enjoyed taking on filming and being behind the camera as well as in front of the camera, because obviously I began at home and I used family members to help film, and obviously had to direct kind of how I wanted the camera to move and how I wanted angles and different movement pathways and how the camera would follow with these movement pathways. And then obviously transitioning here, I used a fellow dancer to help film some of the clips in pedestrian clothing.
So it's been quite interesting also having the film parts of the piece in Denmark where I'm from, and it's just a whole new way of working as a whole. Also the fact that you're able to bring some of yourself into the piece in a whole new way, and in that way it has created a depth to the piece while still maintaining the individuality of all of us dancers working together.
Everyone's just put their own ideas into the piece. When we were videoing on set, it wasn't a set idea. We just bounced ideas off of each other, and we made improvisational tasks inspired by some of the things that we've done in contemporary previously, and we're all just excited to see the final product.
And I think the contrast between this piece and some of the other pieces is a definite location change. So being out in the open space compared to maybe being in a confined space. So We worked a lot on location. We worked in many different settings, so from forest to the beach to maybe being in the woods or in an urban setting, but with open space around us, which I feel like would contrast a lot compared to some of the other pieces where we're focusing on the ideas and thoughts about being maybe constricted or inside, whereas moving forward is about pushing into the future and maybe being able to connect and go back outside again and see people and come together.
I've really enjoyed taking on more responsibility, especially with this project. Obviously we had to do the filming, directing and dancing in this piece as well. So I really enjoyed kind of taking on different roles and taking leadership as well as taking response from the other fellow dancers in the piece as well as from the person leading the piece, and just kind of seeing it all come together as well as like a final project has been really enjoyable.
Throughout the piece, in some places we're dancing in more daywear clothing and other places in costumes. And this is like creating a contrasting element within the piece, which further adds depth to the piece, but also contributes to this idea of rebirth, starting from a blank slate and a new beginning. And throughout the piece, how it becomes freer and freer, especially like dancing in our costumes, the colorful dresses. Considering that this is a piece created for camera, it adds another element you can use to create some interest, like filming wise, but also a texture that's added to the piece. Also an extra layer added to your movement, as when you move, this fabric will move and create further patterns within your movement.
Yeah, so it comes across as not so much as a full piece filmed from many different angles, but it's quite abstract in the way that it's put together. So we worked with lots of ideas of creating different phrases, and they all had their own set phrases that they had created at home that they then brought back with them and onto location. But the way that we've worked with it is we take different snippets of each phrase and different moments or movements that have happened maybe just on set or in the moment, and they've come together to create maybe a storyline that is more up for interpretation than a set narrative.
Oh, I'm really looking forward to everything just coming together, because we've all got so like different ideas. We've all got like different ways we think it's gonna turn out, but it could be like something completely different.